this is a 2016 Smart ForTwo. I think I've done some like partial videos on this and YouTube shorts. I don't think I've done an actual video on this. So this is the most powerful MR09 engine in the world right now. We tuned it to 180 horsepower. And it's back in the dyno because we're going for more and we're going a little different. Let's go over what it has, what it had, and what's going on. So it is a completely stock engine in stock DTC, yes, automatic transmission. From the factory on this dyno, it made something like, I want to say it was like 72 horsepower or something. So we had put a stock Juke turbo on it. We did this air-to-air intercooler, and it had a catted full exhaust. And it worked great, made 180 horsepower at 30 pounds of boost. We are running a FuelTech FT550 to run this thing. But as mentioned in the shop update video this week, the Juke turbo died. So the plan was to put a Mamba Juke turbo on it and go for more power. Well, we put a Mamba on it, and then the Mamba turbo blew up 3 pulls in, because, you know, they do. So we bought the Garrett Sports Series turbo. This is a 20-300, so it's good to 300-ish horsepower. And refabricated our turbo manifold, which we had to custom make, and, you know, made a coupler and made a new exhaust. And here it sits. I just finished doing the gas tune, which we bumped down the gasoline tune. Right now on gasoline, it's making 140 horsepower. And we did that so that, you know, when he does want to beat on it in gasoline, it's not beating so much on everything. And when he wants to really make power, he just puts ethanol in it. So it's just a choice, a tuning choice. I'm going to do one more rip on gasoline, I think, and then pour some ethanol in it and see what happens. So other modifications that this has, it has some custom spec'd out 800cc injectors, 3 of them, because this is a 3-cylinder. We have a GM flex fuel sensor. We have low dollar motorsports, pressure sensors and temperature sensors for post intercooler temperature, for fuel pressure and things of that nature. It does have just, you know, the Garrett wastegate actuator on there, and it's spooling up fine, and that's only an 8 psi wastegate actuator, so might not change that. It does have a MAC valve in it, obviously, but it really doesn't have a whole lot done to it. We do have a meth injection system, which is in here, and I'll get a quick video of that in a minute, which I think I've done a video on. The meth injection is going to run on both ethanol and gasoline, just because shutting it off would require doing things, and it barely uses any methanol. We're literally using the methanol as kind of just an octane booster, but mostly as a air temp cooler. This air-to-air intercooler is significantly better than the factory water-to-air intercooler, but it's still seeing a bit of intake air temp increases with this on, just because of the lack of airflow, which we are going to put a Spall fan on it to try to help that. But we do have the methanol in there kind of just to maintain the intake air temps a little bit. So let's get to putting some corn juice in it. All right, so we poured in E70. We poured in E70. So we'll see what that gets into. This thing was almost completely out of fuel, so it should get close to that. We'll see what we get. All right, so we're driving a little bit, and our ethanol content is going up. So we're just gonna slow it down, and I'm gonna let it just idle. I had to get the fuel out of the fuel rail that was in there. And we're gonna see how it idles with ethanol in it, which right now it is idling a little too rich. So I'm gonna mess around with all that, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we're at 39% ethanol right now, and it stopped going up for some reason. So I'm gonna do some pulls. You got idling. These do like to idle very rich for some reason. So we're gonna do a little pull here at about 8 pounds of boost. and see where we're at. All right, here we go. Alright, we got 92 horsepower at full. Let's compare that to gasoline. Yeah, so thick line is old tune, thin is new. So we picked up we picked up 8 horsepower, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you know, when your starting point is only 84, that's pretty significant. So we do need to smooth things out. The ethanol tune is probably way off, so we're gonna mess around with that. All right, so it's only giving me E40, so I have a can of E98 on its way here, so we can bump that up. Now, I was looking at the data log, and it was running 11 pounds of boost for some reason, which I didn't do anything to generic duty cycle, so I'm not sure where that came from. But it is what it is, so we're gonna move on to the next tune because all of that was all good. So this right here should make quite a bit more power, and we will see. Oh, it didn't record. I mean, it made more. We're gonna have to do that again. All right, let's try that again. Now, I'm going to compare that to the last one, the gasoline tune, which was 118. But yeah, we picked up everywhere. Picked up absolutely everywhere. And this is only E40. So there's definitely a lot left on the table. So just as a point of reference, that is a 5% gain absolutely everywhere on the same boost. And we're only running an ignition compensation at that point of 2.2 degrees, which we're on a 3-cylinder engine. So, you know, the rule is usually 1 degree is 10 horsepower, not in this case. So off just that, we've already gained 5% from just changing the fuel. No difference, and we're only at E40. So obviously, as we go over further, we're going to get more. And then when we turn the boost up, we're obviously going to get more. So obviously the ethanol is working. And if we check our fuel system, because it's important to remember that we are a factory fuel pump here, our fuel pressure is dead flat, 46 PSI through the entire pull, which is fantastic. We do need a little bit more fuel, 5% more. So I'll add that fuel in, and then I'm gonna wait for the ethanol to get here until we mess around with the big boy tune. I changed my mind. We're gonna do the big map, which made 140 before, on the E40 and see what it does. That did 140 before. Back at 170. Oh, that thing wants to eat. Come here. Waiting for the ethanol to get here. It's important that I mention that we are not running VVT right now. He was having drivability issues, and it ended up being the VVT solenoid is bad. And, you know, quite frankly, having low end torque is going to hurt this transmission, or really I should say the clutch. So we're not worried about lag. This thing is so light and it revs up so quick that we're losing a bit of mid-range also because this turbo is way bigger than the turbo that was on there. So we're losing a bit of area under the curve in the mid, which I'll show graphs at the end of it. But up top, we're picking up everything. So, you know, I made 170 on ethanol at 30 pounds of boost. And in December, when we tuned it on the Juke turbo, at the same boost, it made 180. And considering it is 40 degrees hotter, that jives. So, because obviously the car's gonna make way more power when it's colder out, no matter what the compensation factor is. So we'll put more ethanol in it and we'll turn it up more. The goal is to just hit 200. That's kind of the goal. This right here really is limiting us. We're seeing some serious intake air temp increases. It actually might increase the amount of methanol that gets injected in there to cool the air down before it even gets into the cylinder. So I'm gonna play around with that. So that's where we're at now. But this little Garrett turbo on a 0.9 liter engine is spinning up pretty good. We're at 61% ethanol, 62%. All right, there we go. We put a little boost into it, a little bit of timing. See what it does. Huh? 191. 191. And 180 foot-pounds of torque. All right, so we ended with 192 horsepower, 191 foot-pounds of torque. I'm gonna switch the wastegate out for something with a more aggressive spring in it. Probably only a couple PSI more, nothing crazy. And we are actually running into a fuel system issue where this does not have a rising rate fuel system, so your boost pressure pushes against your fuel injectors. Now, these are 800cc fuel injectors, which should be enough for this thing to make like 400 horsepower. What's happening is we have 30 pounds of boost pushing back on that, and our fuel pressure is not rising. So at 46 PSI of fuel pressure, we have 30 PSI of air pressure pushing back. We're maxing out the fuel injectors already. So we have the meth injection system in here, so tomorrow I'm going to try to use the meth injection to kind of catch up to the fuel. Now, it's not running lean or anything. It's still got a good air-fuel ratio, but we're going to run the meth injection at a lot higher of a rate to try to compensate for that, because if I can get 1 or 2 degrees more timing in this, it's going to make over 200, which is kind of the goal. Just because, you know, 200 horsepower smart car that is not motorcycle swapped would be badass. So that's what we're going to try to do tomorrow. It's just too late now to run the dyno. Don't want to keep everybody up. But if that works, cool. We're also going to see if putting the stiffer wastegate in there will bring the spool time down, because this turbo is big enough to the point where we only have like 700 RPM of usable or of full boost to use. It's making torque all the way through, so it's not like it's slow, but try to get it up a little bit more. If we really want to get spooled up, we're gonna run nitrous, right?